This week has been all about love, and I don't know about our Boo Valentine over here, but for me, my love for Explorer Sports is eternal, as I know is the viewers' love for SportsLine. Hello, I'm Meghan Cooney.
And I'm Charlie Hug. I would like to personally apologize to all Boston University fans out there watching this week's episode. My comments last week were completely and utterly unacceptable, and the only time I would mean to boo you is when you're visiting us here at Tom Gola Arena. So until then, you're watching LaSalle TV's home for Explorer Athletics, SportsLine.
Welcome to SportsLine. Our Explorers had a busy week and we got all the coverage.
And later, a special interview with a member of the women's water polo team that you won't want to miss.
But first, let's take a look at our SportsLine top 3.
Number 1, Gabby Turco became just the 28th person in LaSalle women's basketball history to score 1,000 career points. The junior guard reached the milestone on a trip to the line during the third quarter of the Explorers' loss to Duquesne on Saturday.
Number 2, the LaSalle women's lacrosse team will open up their season this week with a matchup against Fairleigh Dickinson Knights on Friday. The women are looking to get their first win since going 0-15 last season.
And number 3, Martina Bonet-Saez was named this week's NovaCare Student Athlete of the Week. The freshman attacker scored 11 goals over 4 games this weekend, leading the LaSalle water polo team to a 3-1 record at the Bucknell Invitational.
All right, so I kind of feel like maybe one of the highlights of the top 3 this week is lacrosse starting up. I feel like that's super exciting. I know they had a really rough season last year. Like we just mentioned, they went 0-15, and that was just really tough to watch. So I'm kind of excited to see how they come out this year and where their season will take them.
Well, they can't get any worse, right?
That's
so,
very true.
We have that to look forward to. And also, Martina Bonet-Saez, you'll see later in the episode, her name will come up quite a few times. She had a huge weekend, and so I'm excited to get into water polo, especially with the interview that we have coming up too.
For sure. And that's it for the top 3. Now let's see how our teams did in this week's recaps. This past Saturday, men's basketball traveled to Virginia to face off against Richmond. Both teams came out hot in the first few minutes, scoring back and forth. Deshaun Shepard put down an explosive second chance dunk, which tied the game. The Explorers continued to build their lead with help from Rokas Yoshis, scoring 6 of the team's 16 first points. The Spiders fought back, going on an 8-2 run to cut LaSalle's lead down to 2 points. With a bit of over 9 minutes left in the half, the Explorers led 23-18. Richmond again answered back, going on a 16-4 run. This resulted in a 36-27 lead for the Spiders at the end of the first. Richmond started out dominant in the second. LaSalle fought back with 7 of the next 10 points, 5 of those from Khalil Brantley. After more back and forth, the Explorers got hot, going on an explosive 16-0 run. Tunde, Valberg-Fasasi, and Brantley contributed greatly to this run. This ended in a 1-point lead for LaSalle with a score of 51-50. Richmond then hit back-to-back threes, giving them a 5-point lead. Both teams then traded baskets for the next few minutes, with Brantley keeping pace with the Spiders. Richmond then scored 8 straight points, giving the Spiders a 73-59 advantage with 3 minutes remaining. The Explorers could not close the gap, and this resulted in an 82-65 loss for LaSalle. On Tuesday, the Explorers traveled to Davidson, North Carolina to take on the Wildcats. The first 3 minutes resulted in no score from either team. Davidson scored first, which was closely followed by a bucket from Deshaun Shepard. The Wildcats scored 14 of the next 16 points to take the lead of 16-4 with 11 minutes remaining in the first. LaSalle then began to find themselves with a couple of threes from Shepard and Khalil Brantley. The Explorers then went on a 10-4 run. This cut the Wildcats' lead to 20-14. Scoring then slowed down before Davidson answered back. The Wildcats put up consecutive buckets to put their lead back into double digits. LaSalle answered back, cutting the lead to 6. Davidson left the final word in the first, ending in a 28-20 lead. Davidson started the second out dominant, scoring 6 points to extend their lead 34-20. Brantley responded, scoring LaSalle's first basket of the second. The Explorers slowly worked to cut the Wildcats' lead. A 3-pointer by Brantley brought the game within single digits with less than 12 minutes remaining. Jameer Brickus also contributed to cutting the lead with a pair of free throws. LaSalle continued their pursuit to cut the Wildcats' lead. The score held at 53-43 for Davidson at the under 8-minute timeout. Andres Marrero drilled a 3 to cut the lead back to 7. Davidson responded back with an 8-2 run. LaSalle made one final effort, scoring 2 baskets to trim the lead to 10. In the end, the Explorers could not come back, and this resulted in Davidson taking the game with a final score of 71-56.
Women's basketball took on Loyola Chicago last Thursday. The Ramblers came out strong, going on an immediate 7-0 run. Nicole Melius was the one who broke the no-score streak for the Explorers, putting up the first 6 points. A last-minute shot from Michaela Miller to tie the deficit would take the deficit into 5 heading into the second quarter. Jolene Armendariz took control in the second quarter, knocking down a 3-pointer and driving to the bucket on her next scoring possession. This was enough to cut the Rambler lead to 4, but it did not last long. The Ramblers' unstoppable offense would strike again, and the Explorers would trail the Ramblers 23-35 heading into the half. The Ramblers' offense would continue to dominate in the second half. Melius would hit her second of 4 3-pointers in the game. This would bring LaSalle's scoring to only 8 points in the third quarter. This, accompanied by only 4 possessions in the fourth quarter, sealed the deal for the Explorers, and they fell 73-39. The women then traveled on to Pittsburgh to take on the Duquesne Dukes. Nicole Melius came out of the gate answering a Duke 3-pointer with one of her own. It wasn't long before the Dukes went on a 6-0 run, but freshman Amber Bulliard attempted to cut the lead by adding 2 points. The Dukes now led 13-8, but it wasn't long before a few shots from Jolene Armendariz got the Explorers within 2 points of the Dukes. Another 3-pointer from Armendariz put the Explorers on top going into the second. Duquesne was not giving up the lead easy and went on a 5-0 run at the beginning of the second to reclaim the lead. Emma Egan cut the lead to 5 with a 3-pointer right before the half, making the score 28-23. The third quarter was a tough battle for the Explorers, with Armendariz attempting to keep them alive, contributing 9 points in the quarter. The Dukes went on a significant run to start the fourth, increasing the lead to 13. The run was stunted by a couple of free throws by Gabby Turco. These free throws were Turco's 1,000th and 1,001 career points, making history. A couple of threes from Michaela Miller and Molly Massantonio got the Explorers within 9 with 7 minutes and 15 seconds left in the game. 2 more points from Melius cut the lead to 7. With 34 seconds left in the game, the Explorers were within reach of the win, but a missed shot from the Dukes provided Armendariz with a rebound, who found Miller, who found Melius, but it slipped through their fingers, and the Dukes ended up taking the win with a score of 57-52. Following that game, the Explorers traveled to Washington, D.C. to take on George Washington during their road conference game. At the start of the game, both teams came out slow offensively, but their defensive efforts kept the game competitive. The first quarter saw a challenge start, with the teams tied 2-2 midway through. Michaela Miller then showcased her scoring ability, contributing points from beyond the line. Unfortunately, however, GW managed a 6-0 run at the end of the first quarter and the beginning of the second until Nicole Melius made a comeback with back-to-back 3-pointers. Gabby Turco's free throws cut the lead to 1, but the Revs dominated the final minutes of the half, outscoring LaSalle 13-2, leaving LaSalle trailing 15-32 at halftime. In the third quarter, Nicole Melius closed the gap to 4 points due to her consecutive scoring and a successful 3-pointers. However, George Washington made no hesitation gaining their lead back. LaSalle entered the fourth quarter 32-48, and despite their efforts, the GW lead proved untouchable, leaving the final score 49-71. Looking ahead, LaSalle will return to Tom Gola Arena this Sunday at 2 p.m. for a matchup against the St. Joseph Hawks as a special Play for K game honoring women affected by all forms of cancer.
The LaSalle track and field teams competed in a pair of meets this past weekend as a final tune-up for the Atlantic 10 Championships coming up in 2 weeks. Groups competed at the BU Valentine Invitational in Boston and the Fast Track Invitational in Staten Island. On the women's side of the Fast Track Invite, we saw 2 athletes run a superb race in the 400 meters. Finishing 6th overall was freshman Soleil Morrison with a time of 58.1 seconds, and senior Maya Primus close behind in 8th position. Also in the 3,000 meter, we saw some excellent running with senior Casey McLeese finishing 13th overall with a PR time of 10 minutes and 30.79 seconds in the women's mile. Georgia Rose Dawson registered a 10th place showing with a time of 5 minutes and 4.53 seconds. On the men's side, a trio of LaSalle runners posted top 30 finishers in the 3,000 meters, led by Malte Bojeberg and his 18th place showing, moving on to the BU Valentine Classic, we saw some remarkable results by our track and field athletes. Liam Rivard put together an impressive race in the 800 meters as he clocked in a time of 1 minute and 48.40 seconds. The time is the fastest in the Atlantic 10 this season and was good for the 10th quickest time by a collegiate runner in the race. The Explorers will next compete at the Atlantic 10 Championships on February 23rd to the 24th at Virginia Beach Sports Center.
The water polo team competed in another 4-game tournament this weekend at the Bucknell Invitational. The Explorers opened up the weekend with a matchup against Mercyhurst just 2 weeks after defeating them in a convincing 18-9 win to open the season. This time it was no different, with 4 Explorers putting points on the board in the first quarter, including 2 from freshman Martina Bonet-Saez. The rookie from Spain would score 2 more times before halftime, and LaSalle would take an 8-0 lead into the break. The Lakers would do their best to come back in the third, scoring 2 quick goals, but the Explorers would respond with vengeance, scoring 3 goals in the last 2 minutes of the period to take a 12-2 lead. It would then be more than enough, as Francesca Co would put up the lone goal of the fourth period, and LaSalle would win 13-3. It was then on to Mount St. Mary's for the second matchup of the day. Both teams were clearly warmed up, as both the Explorers and the Mountaineers would explode to combine for 7 total points in the first period alone. The teams traded goals thanks to the help of Bonet-Saez scoring all 3 for LaSalle before Sofia Colaval would make it a 4-3 game. The second period would be just as close, as the game would head into halftime with a score of 6-5 after 2 goals from Bonet-Saez and Co. The Explorers were finally able to spread their lead into the third quarter after outscoring the Lakers 3-1 in the period. Bonet-Saez and Co. both scored again, as Casey Malone also netted her first goal of the game. The fourth quarter would play out much the same as the previous game, with both teams only scoring 1 goal apiece, and LaSalle would take the win 10-7. The Explorers' next matchup was against the Villanova Wildcats, which would play out much the same. The Explorers came out hot early, scoring the first 3 goals of the game, once again headlined by 2 from Francesca Co and Martina Bonet-Saez. Sofia Colaval and Tatum Lomax were able to score 2 more in the second, but the Wildcats would cut the lead down to just 1 as the game would go into halftime 5-4. The teams would then trade goals again in the third period, with Colaval and Malone helping the Explorers keep a 7-6 lead heading into the fourth. Colaval would secure herself a hat trick in the fourth period to increase the lead before the Wildcats would respond and cut it down once more. At the 4:45 mark, Bonet-Saez would score what would ultimately be the winning goal, and the Explorers would take the game 9-8. Finally, the Explorers would face their first ranked team of the weekend in the 18th ranked Wagner. It was quite the opposite of what the Explorers were used to during the weekend, as Wagner would open the game scoring the first 5 goals. Casey Malone was able to put the Explorers on the board, however, with 40 seconds left in the first period. Carlota Zendali would be the only Explorer to score in the second period, and the Seahawks would take a 7-2 lead into halftime. The final periods would mirror the first 2, as LaSalle would only score 1 goal in each of the next frames. Francesca Co and Whitney Wood would be the only 2 Explorers to score in the second half, and Wagner would ultimately pick up the win 12-4. Despite the loss, LaSalle exited the weekend with a record of 6-3, which is their best record through 9 games in program history. They will be challenged with the next 2 games with 2 ranked opponents next week as they look to continue their hot start.
All right, a lot of sports this week. I kind of want to focus maybe on water polo. We always start with basketball, so I feel like maybe focusing on water polo and starting with them would be really good. I know we didn't get a chance to mention it in the top 3, but Martina Bonet-Saez being NovaCare Student Athlete of the Week as a freshman. She absolutely dominated in all of these games over the weekend, so that's super exciting for her. And they have a really good team this year, and they've come out really hot, so I'm excited to see what they continue to do with the season.
They have one of the best teams in program history, which is awesome. I mean, I don't want to say unexpected, but I mean, if you had told me that this was going to be their start and they were on the borderline of being in the top 25, I would have been really happy, but this is not what I saw happening, but it's awesome. I mean, Francesca Co, again, keeping it up, but yeah, Bonet-Saez is coming out of nowhere and having a great season, which is awesome. A lot of tough matchups coming up, so it'll really prove to see if they have what it takes to be ranked.
Yeah, I know they're playing Harvard coming up this weekend, and they just played them a couple weekends ago, and they were really, really close to defeating them, so I'm kind of excited to see what they do there. Like you said, a couple tough matchups, but they have a really good team, and they have a lot of young, fresh talent. Like, we've been hearing about Francesca Co. She's now a junior, and we'll hear a little bit more about her later, but she has been dominating the sport since she started here, and now she's a junior. We're still hearing about her, so I feel like they have a lot of talent. They take that talent and they mold it, and that's how they've gotten this team that they have so far.
Yeah, Harvard's going to be the game to watch. Heartbreaking loss to them last weekend. It was 9-9, and they scored with like a second left to win. So I know they're going to be itching to get back at them, and that'll be a really interesting game to watch and follow along with. And we have a whole bunch of other sports that we also get to talk about next week.
Yeah, so that should be super exciting. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, SportsLine reporter Riley Kopchak got the chance to talk to a very prominent member of the water polo team. Stay tuned.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. Call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
Welcome back. SportsLine reporter Riley Kopchak got the chance to sit down with Francesca Co of the women's water polo team. Take a look.
Sideline. I'm Riley Kopchak, and today I'm joined with junior Francesca Co from the LaSalle women's water polo team. Francesca, how are you?
All good, thank you. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you. So you're like the MVP of this team. Could you tell us more about your involvement with water polo?
So this is my third year here. I'm a junior. My involvement is just like, I don't do more than anybody else on the team. We just practice a lot every day, and then our schedule is pretty busy, so there's not that much more that you can do. And yeah, that's pretty much about it.
When did you start playing water polo, and what is one thing about the sport that you love so much?
I love the fact that it's a team sport, first of all. I love the energy and the competition that the sport brings. And I think this is my 13th year playing water polo, I think, if I count it right.
That's a lot of years.
Yeah.
You have a lot of experience up that sleeve. Has it been difficult adjusting to playing in the States rather than playing in Italy, where you're from?
Yes. I think here some rules are different from the rules that I have back home. I think it's a little bit less aggressive, the game here, which it was kind of complicated to adjust to that, and I'm still trying to adjust. I have still some issues with it. And I think this is the main difficult part that I had. It was not hard adjusting to it, like talking about the team and the environment. I mean, I'm pretty close with some of my teammates especially, so that literally like helped me a lot. So.
That's good. And then overall, water polo aside, what would you say was something difficult adjusting here in Philadelphia in general rather than Italy?
The neighborhood, the food, for
yeah,
sure.
Definitely.
And in just being away, so far away from home, that even like when you have like shorter breaks, you cannot just go home. That was it's kind of hard. But again, the friends on the team just make it smoother, so it helps.
Definitely. Do you think like having that big team involvement and like that moral support by your friends and teammates is something that basically every team, no matter what sport, should have?
Oh yeah, definitely. If you don't have chemistry, connection on a sport team, you cannot play that well. Like the chemistry that just doesn't work and will not work during the games either. So it's a factor that has to be there.
Back to water polo. Water polo is definitely a sport that isn't on everyone's radar. For someone who doesn't know much about the sport, can you tell us just how much work is put into everyday practices, games, everything?
Okay, so right now we have film almost every day. So we review games to look up our errors and the plays, what we can improve. And then we have 2 hours, I would say, of practice in the water. And then we have lift twice a week in the morning. And the hardest part is obviously the game itself, because our schedule, it's really busy. We have more than 30 games every season. So we have 3 to 4 games every weekend, which is energy-wise, it's really like,
a lot.
it's a lot.
Yeah,
It is
a
a lot.
lot.
You arrive at Sunday night that you just want to go to bed
It
and
feels
sleep.
like never ending.
Yes.
Yeah. So has there been a memorable moment about your time here at LaSalle?
Memorable, I would say that it was, and I think I said this last year too, it was going to California my freshman year during spring break. I'm here in the United States, but I don't have many opportunities to like visit the country or go around. And that break was just, for me, was the first time being in California. And it was just really nice. I was with the team and I saw a place that I've never seen, and it was just really fun.
Definitely, that's something fun. All right, and then if you remember, could you explain one of your most exciting goals?
The first that comes to mind that I personally liked, it was my last one against Harvard 2 weekends ago. It was at the end of the fourth quarter, and we tied the game, and it was pretty far from the goal. I would say maybe not half court, but almost. So it was just the rush of the moment, the adrenaline. It was the game was ending, so it was just an exciting moment.
Totally, that was good. What's one piece of advice that you wish you knew before playing at the D1 college level?
I don't know. It's just, I wouldn't know, because it's totally different from how I was like used to. So I think that for someone that comes from like America in general, it will be easier, but just know that you have to put hours and effort, and you have to be committed to it.
You
like
have to change a whole time.
Yes, you definitely have time for yourself, but it's not like not being on a sport or on a different sport. It requires a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and it's just, you have to really like doing and practicing and playing water polo. Otherwise it becomes too stressful, and it's hard to handle, even if you like it sometimes. If you don't like it, it's just too much.
Yeah. Lastly, if there's someone considering maybe trying water polo, what's the best advice you can give a rookie?
I would say that it's basically the same answer I just gave. I've been playing water polo all my high school and even before, and you have to be able to do sacrifices. So you have to have a certain mindset and realize and understand that you will not go out every time that maybe your friends can, or like the time that you switch between practicing and study, it's that, and you don't have that much of the time for yourself or other activities. So you have to put this in, like, you have to count that on.
Okay, perfect. Well, Francesca, thank you so much for joining me today and answering my questions.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Now we're going to go back to Meghan and Charlie.
We're going to take a quick break, but first, check out where we get our pictures from and what it's like to be a sports photographer from our very own producer and director, Ange Lazaro.
Day in the Life, Sports Photographer Edition. Walking to Tongola Arena. Time to take pictures. Time to download, edit, and share.
Did you know that listening to music, enjoying art, or simply holding hands can boost your cognition? Like me, you want to maintain brain health for as long as possible. I'm Kevin Jameson, President of the Dementia Society of America. Please request our free guide filled with 10 building blocks to better brain health, care planning, and facts about dementia. Visit our website at 1-800-DEMENTIA.org or call us at 1-800-DEMENTIA. You want to live life to the fullest, and our free guide can help.
Welcome back. We've got another week of LaSalle sports coming up, so here's what you have to look forward to. Men's basketball will take on UMass on Saturday at 2 p.m. at Tom Gola and will stay at home for their game against St. Bonaventure next Wednesday at 6:30. The women will take on St. Joe's at home on Sunday at 2 p.m. and then will travel to Virginia to take on the University of Richmond next Wednesday.
Water polo will participate in the Princeton Invitational this weekend. They will compete against San Diego State on Saturday and Harvard on Sunday. Lacrosse starts their season on Friday competing against FDU away, and they will then have their home opener next Wednesday against Villanova at 3 p.m.
And that just about wraps it up for this week. If you can't make it out to see the Explorers play, be sure to tune in next week for our coverage. Keep up with this weekend's sporting events by visiting goexplorers.com.
Also check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalleTV and on Instagram at SportsLine LTV. We welcome you to send us your thoughts and suggestions there.
From our entire SportsLine team, I'm Meghan Cooney.
And I'm two-time intramural kickball champion Charlie Hug. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you at the game.
All right.